Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint an autumn landscape. It's going to have kind of a sunrise, sunset. I'm not really sure which, but we're going to kind of show you how to do that effect through the trees there. And I'm going to try to keep it fairly simple, but it's probably going to be a mid-level beginner project. And I'll show you step by step how to do it from start to finish. I've got my husband, Mark, with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's watching chat during our live show, so if you've got questions while I'm painting, you can ask those and we'll try to answer them. Let's get started. Okay, so this is my reference photo. I really liked it. This was actually voted on in my Patreon group. They wanted to paint this, so, well, it's actually my Patreon supporters voted as a whole, not just my Facebook group people. So I'm going to be using a 9 by 12 inch archival canvas board from Fredrix, the Pro Series, Belgian linen. It's kind of a smooth, slightly textured surface, and it's got a hardboard inside, so it's nice and firm. It's not going to warp or anything like that. But you can use really whatever size you've got. It doesn't have to be a canvas panel. I use the canvas panels because they're easier to store, but if I was doing this for, you know, a wall and I didn't want to have to frame it, I would probably put it on a gallery wrapped canvas of some sort. Let's go over my brushes really quick. I've got some Princeton brushes today. This is the number 12 bright and a number 8 bright for some of the background details. Then I'm going to use a number 1 round. These are the 6100 series in Princeton with the green handles. And then I've got some of the Willow's blenders here in the VelvetTouch line. These are also Princeton. 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch for some of the stippling and things like that on the grasses. Then I've got a couple of angle brushes here, 3/8 inch and 1/4 inch angle, and a number 4 round for some of the more detailed work. And then to round it out, we've got, with the Select line of Princeton, there's the 3/8 inch and 5/8 inch Deerfoot Stippler, 10-aught fan brush, and a number 1 round. I'm not sure I'll use all these brushes, but I'm going to kind of have these out just in case I need them. And then I've also got a sea sponge that I think I'm going to use for our large tree because it'll make it go faster. These are just sold in packs of several in watercolor. Watercolors use them a lot. So let's go over our colors really quick. I've got, this is glazing liquid, my golden acrylic glazing liquid. It's got a little extender in it, so it will allow us to have a little bit more blending time when we do our sky. I've got burnt sienna, burnt umber. This is zinc white for some of the transparent colors through the trees. But if you don't have zinc white, you can just reuse regular white. This is titanium white. Unbleached titanium, Quinacridone Magenta, Cadmium Red Light, Cadmium Orange, Cadmium Yellow Medium, Yellow Oxide, Phthalo Green Yellow Shade, Phthalo Blue Green Shade, Ultramarine Blue, and Dioxazine Purple. And I showed in a recent art chat and on my Patreon page, so if you visit that page right now on the home page, just it shows kind of colors that you can use just to blend any of this. I know I use a lot of colors usually in my tutorials, but you really only need 4 colors. Quinacridone Magenta, Cadmium Red Light, Phthalo Blue Green Shade, and Cadmium Yellow Medium. And you can mix this whole rainbow of colors and you can kind of see how it compares to, this is Cadmium Orange, Phthalo Green. You can get it, you know, similar colors, Ultramarine Blue here. And Dioxazine Purple over here. So you don't need to have all the colors. I have them out because it speeds things up for me, but you don't have to go out and buy every single color that I'm using. I also recommend getting titanium white, carbon black, burnt sienna, and yellow oxide as your neutral colors. You obviously need white and black, you know, for most stuff. So anyhow, those are just basics. All right, let's get started here. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Good job.
With Christmas coming out, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I use a lot of colors, but a lot of times those are pre-mixed colors. I just use them to speed things up, so makes it faster while we're painting. All right, so our slope of our hill is coming all the way down. It's above the halfway mark, so kind of find your halfway mark and come just above it, and then you're going to just do this angled, and it's kind of a little bit wavy, but then it comes right down to that corner there. Like almost right to it, maybe just before. And then our hillside back here is actually lower than this. So it's actually right at about the halfway mark here. So if we find that, we kind of go up a little bit, flatten out, up, around. They're kind of low rolling hills. And there's some kind of areas like this that are coming out off of them. And then right here is where our tree's going to be, where the sun's going to go right here. And then this is going to come down there. Then this is where our tree trunk is, so it's going to be right in here. I'm not going to draw it right now because we're going to do the sky, and I don't want anything interfering with that. So these are basically our three planes. We've got our sky, our kind of foreground, and our foreground, middle distance, and foreground. So I don't know what to call that. I know there's a name for it. I can't think of it right now. I'm having a brain blurb.
Over there and over here.
Yeah, over there and over here. Okay, so I'm going to use just a little bit of water just for this part up here on the sky. It's going to help kind of speed things up over here. You could also just use a brush and brush some water on, but I'm going to just squirt my canvas one time, just once. That wasn't a whole lot.
How many drops was that?
Huh?
How many milliliters was that?
I don't know.
No? Okay.
I'm just going to brush that on there. What that does is kind of prime your canvas. It gets it damp so that the paint can kind of move around on it. It won't absorb all of the moisture out of your paint as soon as you touch it onto the canvas.
So far I can do that.
All right, grabbing some white, and I'm just going to scoop it up from one side of my white and pull it over onto another spot on my canvas. And then I'm just going to dip the corner into the phthalo blue. That's probably too much even right there. No, that's all right. All right, and that'll be enough for up here, and I may go a little bit darker just on one side, and I'll put that dark corner up at the top of the canvas, so I've got that side that's got a little bit more color on it up here. I'm just going to go across, and if it's kind of feeling sticky, you can grab some of that glazing liquid or a little bit of water. You just want to do this quickly. Go all the way across. And I'm kind of tapping it so that it kind of works itself down into the canvas texture. Okay, so once I get that, I'm going to pick up some water, tap it off on my cup, grab some more white, pull it off to the side over here, kind of work it in very quickly, and then I'm going to go straight to my canvas, and I'm going just underneath this color. Pick up a little bit more water. You might want to show the side, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, it's a little low.
Oh, you can see the water, I think. So I'm going just underneath where I just did, and then I can pick up some of this glazing liquid and go back over that area. Once I kind of get my color down here, I'm going to go back over that blend area between the two colors and just go over that area. And then pick up a little bit more water, pick up a little bit more white. Go back over here. I don't want to touch it into this blue area. I want to keep this new color lighter. Right here, it'll have a little bit of blue, but it'll be mostly white by the time we get all the way down here to this mountain. So I'm just working it into the canvas here, underneath where I want it to blend, and then I'm just going to go back and forth. Once I get most of that color off of there, I don't want to have a lot of paint on my brush at this point, and work it all the way up here. Now, once I get up here, I don't want to go all the way up into that with this white, or it'll kind of contaminate it, and I don't want to come all the way down to the bottom with the dark blue either. And I can do this a couple of times to get a good gradient. I do want to go over one more time up here, so I'm going to grab some glazing liquid, a little bit of my phthalo blue, go a little bit darker. Now that I've got my color down, and this is still wet, so you got to do this quickly because you don't want to mess with this while it's drying. So if you did it kind of slowly, you can just let it dry completely and then do this layer. So I'm going to do one more time, and I'm going to pull from the top down, and I'm going to stop once it starts to kind of look like it's getting close to that white area there. I think that's good. I'm going to wipe my brush off. A little bit of water, wipe it off, grab some of my white, a little bit of my glazing liquid, and I'm going to do one more with my white right at the bottom and pull it upward. And I'm going to stop right there. So I don't want to mess that up. I think it looks good. Got a really soft, nice gradient there in our sky. All right, so now on our hillside, I'm going to go ahead and use this color that I've got here and just grab some of the Unbleached Titanium. So it's got a little bit of that sky blue color in it. Unbleached Titanium will cause it to turn a little bit green because it's got some yellow in it. It's kind of a yellow, warm white color. I'm spraying my palette to keep it moist. And let me see. I think I might want to grab just a little bit of the I see a little bit of pink, so I'm going to grab just a tiny bit of that Quinacridone Magenta, and I mean tiny, tiny, tiny bit. I don't want it to turn pink on me, but there we go. So it's got a little bit of that blue. It's that Unbleached Titanium. Yeah, that's a good color. All right, and I'm just going to use this big brush, and I'm going to go right along that edge and make sure that I'm catching all of those chalk marks. I don't want any of those chalk marks to show, so I'm just kind of tapping over, making sure that I'm pulling from that top edge down. And that's why I use chalk. You could use watercolor pencil, just whatever works for you to sketch out your drawing, but you definitely don't want anything that's going to keep showing, you know, after you grabbing some ultramarine blue here. And let's go ahead and grab a little bit of yellow oxide. Create a little bit more green. It's mixing with that phthalo blue too. Okay, right here, this one's going to be a little bit more darker, a little bit darker, a little bit farther away from the sun. It's going to get a little darker. You don't want to use a regular pencil when you're sketching your designs onto your canvas because it will show up underneath your paint and you won't be able to cover it up. So using chalk works really well. So it just dissolves right into the paint. Okay, there we go. So we've got our two hills there, and I can grab some of this color here and kind of put it on this transition between the two of them just to kind of soften up that transition. We'll put in some more details to these later, but that looks good. I'm going to use some of that darker blue right along that edge right here between this and this. A little bit of a shadow down in that valley there. Actually, I'm seeing this kind of coming almost straight down here. There we go. And then this back corner is really dark, so I'm going to grab that Dioxazine Purple and some burnt umber and go really dark down here. Gotta have it dark in order for our lighter colors to really pop off of the canvas. And if you look really closely in your trees, we're looking at these little dark areas in here. There's all these little nooks and crannies where there's these really dark shadows. So we're going to put that in first, and then we'll put our lighter colors on top. I'm just going to pull upward into our hillside here. And I can kind of use the tip of my corner of my brush. I'm just going to kind of tap to sort of blend those together a little bit. Don't have to worry too much about it because we're going to cover this up again, but I'm just going to try to give it a soft blend as much as I can right here between these two colors, so I don't have a hard line between them. Let's grab some of this color that's right here. I'm going to mix it with my purple and just use that right here. tapping. Okay, that looks good. Really dark. Let's go ahead and use this color right down in here. This area right here is really dark underneath all of our rocks and things. Let's grab some blue, ultramarine blue here. Use some of that. And then when it gets to about right where the tree is setting, which is going to be right in here, there's all these dark areas here. Grab a little bit of brown, burnt umber. What are you doing, hon?
Trying to get Cashmere to lay down in the right spot.
Oh,
Not right at my feet.
I can hear her chirping at you.
She really wants to get on my lap again. So did we say hi to everybody?
I didn't. I just kind of jumped right in here.
I know. You just like go.
I know. Well, this one's going to take a while, so I just want to make sure that I have time. Oh, I got a drop of water right there. Darn it.
Oh, let me zoom in on that so everybody can
it's
see that
fine.
mistake. Okay, while you fix that, I'll say hi to everybody.
I'm just going to let that set. We're just going to have to fix that later.
So that's a good tip, so that you know that you got to let it dry first.
Yeah.
Before you mess with it, or else it'll just roll out of control.
Yeah, it'll just keep picking up other stuff around it. All right, going to grab some yellow oxide, or I'm sorry, cadmium yellow medium and my burnt umber here. I'm going to use that on my hillside. And I'm just going to...
Well, we got an art question.
Color. Yep.
So they would like to know that if they go to a larger canvas, do they have to use a larger brush?
Yes.
And okay, then what's the rule of thumb or big toe for that?
Use the biggest brush that you can fit into that area comfortably. So use the biggest brush that, comfortably fits into your area. So if you've got a, ginormous canvas and you want to fill, this area, you want to find a brush that's wide enough to do that. Usually 3 inches is about the max that I go on my brushes, because bigger than that just gets ridiculous. So, but 2 inches, 3-inch brushes, those work pretty well. Really 3-inch starts to get a little bit unwieldy. So, I use gesso brushes for a lot of this kind of stuff that I'm doing right now, just because they're cheap and they're large and kind of disposable, and I kind of beat the heck out of them. So that's what I would get to do some of this first stuff, this background work. And then just these sponges come in really huge sizes, so you could get a really large sponge and do your trees with that, and then have, one of these, or, kind of a middle range brush for some of the detail work on the tree branches and stuff. But yeah.
Good advice.
Thanks. Grabbing some yellow oxide. I'm going to grab a little bit of that, the ultramarine blue here. There we go. Just mixing it with this color that we already put down here. And this is, it's really ugly color. It's going to be the undercolor for our grass. We're going to cover most of this up, but grab some white. Mix that with it. And up in here, we can do a little bit of the lighter color. And I'm just using the corner of my brush, or the edge of my brush, to kind of draw my lines here. Gives a little bit more control. Grabbing some of that glazing liquid to kind of help it smooth on there. I don't want to go farther down with my light color than my tree here. I'm going to grab some more of that purple and kind of come back up in here, because it's really dark under my tree. Just tapping some of that darker color back up in there.
Okay, somebody's asked, Have you painted murals before?
Yes. Yeah, I used to paint a lot of murals. I loved painting murals. That was really fun. Done several restaurants and people's homes.
Now,
Yeah.
do you have
Our
pictures
home.
on your website?
I do have pictures on my website of some of the murals that I did. Yeah. So if you go to the AngelaAndersonFineArt.com, it'll show you some of the murals that I've done. I haven't done a mural in a long time, though. I don't have time for it anymore. Plus, it's pretty physically difficult. It's got, grabbed a little bit of green here just to add in with this color. It's physically taxing, getting down on your hands and knees and stuff. I'm too used to sitting in a chair now.
And on scaffolding.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I won't do that again. Cadmium Yellow Light here, or medium here.
How old was Spencer when you did that one? You're like,
He still talks about it.
you need to go get help if I fall off.
Yeah, it was a 15-foot ladder, and I was painting the very ceiling right up to the top of the restaurant, doing a faux finish on the walls, and it was just Spencer and I. That was it. And I think he was probably 11, maybe 10, 11, something like that. And I was like, Spencer, if I fall down, I'm going to be knocked out. So you push these buttons on my phone, and you wait outside for the ambulance to get here. It scared this. I never got on a big ladder again after that project. I had nightmares. It was bad. All right, so just kind of trying to soften this transition here. It really doesn't matter because we're going to put more coats on top of it, but that's kind of what we're ending up with. I think that's good. Okay. Clean that out. Let's see if this is dry. So this is dry. Now we can kind of fix that little spot there, which I think I'm going to switch to a little bit smaller brush. This is my Willow's Blender 3/8 inch. You can use whatever, stiff bristle brush that you have, or you could even use just a small brush that's this size, even a filbert or something like that. It doesn't have to be this particular brush. I have no idea what color I used back there. So I'm just going to guess. Go with Ultramarine Blue and Unbleached Titanium. I'm going to grab a little bit of Burnt Umber. That's pretty close. And I'm going to tap in right over the top. If it's too dark, I can just grab a little bit of white or a little bit of my Unbleached Titanium, whatever, and just tap in there. Very good. All right, so I was going to do this anyway, so it really didn't matter that I had that little white hole because I was going to, you want to go in here, so whether or not you did what I did, you're still going to do this. You're going to grab a little bit of the yellow oxide with my ultramarine blue here. Make it kind of a light green gray with that. It's got that burnt umber in there, so it's gonna, yeah, there we go. I'm just going to tap in little. Not really doing this far away. We're not really seeing any particular details. So I'm just kind of trying to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of something back here that looks sort of like bushes, sort of like, I don't know what it is back here, but just a little bit of, I grabbed a little bit more blue for this one, so right there. You can kind of see, we're just kind of adding a little bit of texture on our hills. And I'm going right up where this kind of comes down. I'm going to go right up to that and kind of come down underneath. So I have, this side is going to be a highlight right here on our hill. Okay, I'm just going to use some of this color down in here. Alright, that's good. Let's use a little bit of it down here. Just a little bit. This area is a lot lighter because it's got the sunlight hitting it, more of it. So let's grab our yellow oxide. And our Unbleached Titanium. I'm going to grab a little bit of Quinacridone Magenta. That was that color that we used on this one, I think. There we go. And I still had that blue in my brush because we had the blue from the sky and mixed in, so it doesn't have to be clean. We're just going to be going over the top of what we already did. So this is just going to be, and this color transition right here is very subtle, so you can be fairly close to the same color on your hillside here as what we're doing right now. So I'm just going to do the same kind of thing we did back here. We're just kind of adding a little bit of texture. Just kind of dry brushing a little bit onto our mountain. The closer one. A little bit of detail. Keep it subtle. Small brush strokes. If you get too much, you can go back in with your original color and go back over. If you still have it, which I don't, but hopefully you will. Save a little bit of that original color. I'm gonna there we go. Grabbing some of that dark blue. Here we go. I'm going to grab just a little bit of phthalo green, mix that with this blue that we've got on our hill. So this is that color that we used right here, this darker color. I'm going to use a little bit of that phthalo green, grab a little bit of white, make it a little bit lighter. I want a highlight color. I'm going to use the green to do it. There we go. Use a little bit of this color. Now when you put this color on, if it looks like the same color as your background, it's actually going to dry just one shade darker. So if your background is dry already and you're putting a color on top and it looks like it is the same exact color or the same value, what will happen is when it dries, it will go a little bit darker. So that actually kind of works in our favor here because we want a little texture on here. But even though it looks like it's the same color as our background, it's not going to be. It's going to dry just a little bit darker. All right, there we go. So that's all I'm going to do on the hillside. Not a whole lot of detail there. And I'm going to put some of this green in my trees that are kind of back here over the top of this purple. This is that highlight colors, the phthalo green plus Unbleached Titanium plus a little bit of the Ultramarine Blue and brown color that I had going on. Alright, so let's just use this. I'm going to kind of highlight along here. This ridge keeps on going along these trees, so I'm just going to tap in a little bit of this color along the tops of that. And along the tops of these purple trees here. That's just a transition area between the mountains and the hillside here. All right. I may actually get away with not having to have you blow dry for me today, huh?
That's okay. I'm over here eating leftover Halloween candy, so
We have a lot of it. got rained out this year, so we usually go through like 4 to 5 ginormous bags of candy. So we had 4 to 5 ginormous bags of candy left over after Halloween this year because nobody came.
I'm trying to store as much of it
raining
in my body as I can.
Raining hard. What?
I'm trying to store as much of it in my body as I can.
I think you're doing a good job there, hon.
I have goals.
Got the unbleached or Quinacridone Magenta and red burnt sienna here. Mix those two together with some of the unbleached titanium over here, and I kind of mixed on top of that purple purposefully because I kind of wanted a little bit of that purple color in there too. So I'm just going to start tapping in on this mountain here.
Should we show your bear painting?
Yeah, we can show my
okay,
bear
I'll
painting.
get it.
Why? Somebody asking about it?
Somebody's like, she did a bear painting?
Yeah, I did. We did it for the bonus video last month and for my Patreon folks. Why did you do that?
Why not?
Oh, okay.
You can
Here.
keep painting.
Oh,
all right.
there we go. So we got a lot more detail in our mountains here. Our little bear pine trees. Turned out pretty good. I can't remember how long it took. I think it was almost 4 hours, maybe. Something like that. So it's a fun one. All right, so I'm going to go in with my Dioxazine Purple because I'm seeing that there are some dark areas in here that I missed. So I'm going to just kind of tap those in. There we go. And I'm kind of doing my brush strokes in a vertical motion. This has got kind of, I think it's like a fisheye lens because the trees here are kind of distorted. They look a little bit warped. So I think that they've kind of got that lens that's kind of pulling them, catching them, turning them. I'm going to use the 1/4 inch Willow's blender. And let's grab some of this cadmium yellow, and I'm going to mix it with the purple to tone it down. I'm going to mix most of these colors with the purple to tone them down because I don't. These are pretty neutral back here. You can kind of see on our photograph they're kind of neutral. They're pretty light colored, so we want to keep that look. And then to do that, we can mix it with this color and also the purple underneath. So grabbing some cadmium yellow, mixing it with that purple, and some of the white to it. We'll just add a little bit. There we go. Just a few little, I'm kind of holding my brush slightly angled. Because really we're just seeing the tops of the trees. So we're just kind of seeing that little rounded part on the tops of the trees. These are all kind of snuggled in next to each other over here on this hillside. These ones are a little bit bigger, getting down towards the bottom here. There's a big tree right here that's going to be kind of covering up this area, and then there's going to be these 2 trees right here. So actually this one is going to be right in here. So I need to do a better transition between this color and this one here. So I'm gonna have to mix up some more of that blue. From our hillside there. Ultramarine Blue, Burnt Umber, and Unbleached Titanium here. And we're just going to go over the top of these.
I've been asked to zoom in some, so you may need to shift.
Okay.
And are these hills alive with the sound of music?
I don't know.
I could break out a song if you want me to. No? I guess that's a no. Silence.
No comment.
The studio was filled with the sound of silence.
I'm protecting our viewers here.
I can do it in a nice operatic voice.
Ultramarine Blue here. You could. Okay, just trying to kind of soften up this transition between the hillside and our pink trees here. Kind of want a little bit light, dark on them. A little too dark. Okay, there we go. Really, these are not going to matter a whole lot because they're not going to be our focal point. So I don't want to waste a whole lot of time worried about getting these exactly just so. We just want to kind of have the indication of some trees, and stippling here will help us get that effect. I'm going to use a little bit of burnt umber with my cadmium yellow, also mixing it with my purple pink color there. Starting to dry. There we go. Getting some of this brown color in here. And I don't want to cover up all of my purples, so I'm kind of trying to find little pockets to do it, but leaving a little bit of these purple spots showing in places. And I'm not going too bright. I'm keeping these fairly neutral. There's a couple of places where I'm seeing some green, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that green, mix that in. Grab a little bit of the cadmium yellow. I have this kind of reddish color on there, so it's kind of neutralizing it. I had the burnt sienna in my brush, so it's neutralizing it a little bit. Use a little bit of that in here. Just a couple places. As I get down toward the bottom here, I want to start thinking about my tree shapes a little bit more. Up in here, I can just kind of get away with doing little almost semicircles of color. But as I get down towards the bottom here, I want to shape out my trees a little bit more vertically, or horizontally, I mean. So I'm going to grab some Cadmium Red Light, mix that with this green. There we go. Down here, I'm holding my brush sideways here so that I'm getting these. Back here, we're too far away to see this kind of sideways stuff. We're really only seeing kind of the vertical. Okay, so they're just too close together and too far away to see the individual branches, but down here we can see them a little bit, so we're just going to kind of tap those in sideways. And this one right here, there's kind of a tree in here that's pretty noticeable. Go ahead and grab some of that Quinacridone Magenta, and we'll put in a red tree back here. More of them. Some of this color in our far hills.
Is this wet on wet?
No, it's dry underneath, so no, it's not really wet on wet. I'm working pretty dry. I'm going to grab some of the Ultramarine Blue and Purple here. Add some of that in here. Just a few little pockets of really dark color. All right, then I'm going to wipe my brush off because it's starting to get kind of muddy. Get some of my Ultramarine Blue and some of this Unbleached Titanium. Create that soft blue color. I'm going to use some of that down here in our trees. Just a few little trees with this. Now I'm kind of trying to find little pockets so I can kind of create these little tree shapes. Back in here, just little rounded parts. Where some of our trees sit. And then I can kind of soften up this purple that I just put in there if it looks too dark. That color looks really good. Okay. Happy with that. I'm going to do a lighter version of that pink that I was using there and just go in and kind of top off some of these trees with a little bit of light pink. This is the Quinacridone and burnt sienna mixture. So just a little bit of highlighted color. And then there's just a little bit more of that yellow. Go and grab that cadmium yellow and mix that with this color. back in and put in just a little bit more of this bright yellow in a couple of places. And I might even add just a little bit of white. Right. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, then we're going to need to put in our kind of brighter greenish or brighter yellowish tree back here. So I'm going to grab the Quinacridone Magenta. Let's grab that burnt sienna. What are you doing?
I was encouraged by everybody in chat to do a special super chat shout out for Sandy.
Okay.
Just because of the size of the donation.
Oh.
And so Sandy is back after a little hiatus. And she just says, making up for lost time.
Oh.
Missed you. So thank you so
Glad
much,
to have
Sandy.
you back, Sandy.
Yes. And I told everybody in chat that if I got in trouble, I was going to blame them. But they were like, Mark, they need a special shout out.
Oh, so. Yeah. Sandy's the one that had a hospital visit, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you're back, Sandy. Hope you're doing better.
And I got to turn on the disco lights.
Yeah, no, Mark's happy about that. All right, so you can see that kind of reddish. I did a little bit brighter color here. I'm going to grab that brighter yellow, cadmium yellow, and go ahead and tap a little bit of that in. And this time I'm keeping it fairly bright because these are getting closer to us. We're getting more of the sunlight. The closer to this right here we're getting, the brighter it's going to be. Also, the ones that are closer to us are also getting more of that light, so they're going to be brighter too. So.
Okay, we got an art question.
Yes.
They'd like to know, could you explain the reason for the blue spots in between?
Oh, these blue?
I guess so, yes.
Just because I see them in here. There's some areas, you really can't see them in here, but there's these areas on the reference photo, I don't know, that they just look blue. So, and blue tends to be a color that your eye picks up when things are far away, and in shadow. So these are probably just trees that are kind of in shadow back in here that we're seeing. That's why they're looking blue to us. They're not blue trees, obviously, but our eyes kind of interpreting them as blue because they're in shadow or something. Okay. We'll do that. And then let's work on our grass. Hillside. Should be dry by now. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to a little bit bigger brush. So we want to get our grass and our hillside pretty much done. Oh, actually there's a tree back here I missed. So let's do that one. But it's pretty light, so I'm going to add a lot of white to my brush, or a lot of this unbleached titanium back here. Grab some of that yellow. There's a little tree right back in here. But it's very faint because it's far away, so.
So you're using a Willow's blender right now?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 1/4 inch.
Yes.
Oh, look at that graphic. Hey, yeah, somebody asked if they don't have a Willow's blender, what could they do to replace?
You could use your Deerfoot Stippler. You could use a any kind of stiff bristle brush that you've got that like a Hog Bristle brush or something like that, and using the cadmium or the Quinacridone Magenta and a little bit more bright there, just a little bit. Like a brush like this, you know, just a really cheap Hog Bristle brush. You could even cut it if you wanted to the shape. This gets a little bit soggier. I don't think this is Hog Bristle. This is some sort of synthetic fiber, so it doesn't get as floppy in water. So just keep that in mind. These Hog Bristles, when they get wet, they get a little bit floppy. So that's what I like about the Willow's blenders, because they stay pretty firm, even if you get them wet. And that filbert, the filbert shape, the rounded shape, kind of helps with some of the.
I'm just glad I don't have to get the bristles off the hog. They would not be happy.
No, I'm sure they weren't. I'm sure it came from the bacon that you're eating for breakfast.
Bacon.
Poor hogs.
They have a superpower. They turn grass and stuff into bacon.
Okay, I'm sorry to the vegetarians and vegans in the audience. We're making some people mad right now.
That look was priceless.
All right, I just mixed some of the white with my yellow over here. I think this yellow had a little bit of that blue in it. It's, it's kind of all gotten mixed together and dirty. You can use just cadmium yellow light or cadmium yellow medium here with your white if you don't have anything fresh still mixed up over there. But I'm just going to tap along that hillside here. Do a really bright highlight on our grass right up against that edge. It's glowing. And so far away, we're not seeing really individual grasses very much. If we do, they're very, very tiny. So you can kind of just stipple along that edge, just kind of tap, 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 and you'll get kind of broken up lines. They kind of look like they're catching the light, and that grass is catching the light. Really, the only part that's really bright like this is just right here along this ridge line. The rest of it, as we get away from this area, starts to get a little bit darker real fast. So I'm just going to tap in like this, and then I'm going to grab some of that cadmium yellow and tap that in. Be sure you leave little pockets of this background color underneath. So just tapping back and forth and keeping my brush fairly horizontal. That will help keep our... We are going to do some at an angle. Like there's, some of this is going to be at an angle, but some of these grasses, are coming at an angle at us. But as we get kind of down closer to us, we're starting to see a little bit more flat plains. So you can see kind of like the flat plains that I did here and in here. And our trees are standing upright. They're going to be parallel to the sides of our canvas. If we did them this way, they would look like they're falling off the hillside. So we're going to do our tree trunks vertical. And that way, it's like, if you were standing on this hillside, you would be, adjusting. You would have one leg, kind of bent and one a little higher so that you could adjust and not fall over. You wouldn't be standing at an angle like this to the tree. This tree is the same way. They're going to be adjusting their growth and staying upright so they don't tip over. just tapping the here and there. Right down in here, we're getting a little bit more kind of a mossy green, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that phthalo green, add some yellow oxide to it, and some cadmium yellow light, or cadmium yellow medium. I keep wanting to say cadmium yellow light. And I'm going to use a little bit of burnt sienna just to tone it down slightly. Use a little bit of white. There we go. We want kind of a bright green, but we want that burnt sienna will keep it from looking like a too bright. Grab some of that color, the highlight color that we were using. You add some of that in there. Go. Okay, let me start now. Before we get too much farther, we'll go ahead and add a little bit of this green down in here. I want to draw in our trees. This time I'm setting my brush down and kind of flicking it upward. Get some little grassy clumps happening. And this is that green color that we had. All through here. Make sure you leave some of that purple. You don't want to cover everything up. Okay. I'm going to grab my, let me do my red chalk. All right, so this tree is, let's see, here's our halfway mark on our drawing. So we're right at the quarter mark there. So if we do split our canvas the same way, this is where our tree trunk's going to be, right here. And it really does, it matches up right to where this kind of meets this. So, and then it curves out this way. And then the feet follow the foot of the tree kind of follows that curve. So this one is lower than this one up here. Just like our leg, one leg would be lower, you know, holding on to that hillside. I don't want to do this too dark, too hard, or it's going to pull my color off. Don't want it to pull the paint off my canvas.
That's some sweet chalk sounds going on right now.
Sorry, yeah. That's probably.
No, that's okay.
Hopefully it's not irritating.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay. All right, so you can kind of see it does this sort of Y shape here. There's a big Y here, and then this tree trunk splits again. Right, and then this one here is right in here. So the top of it is going to be right here, and it's going to meet up with the hill right there. This one is right next to it. And it fills up this whole area right here, and then this one is right in here, and it is right on this little hillside right here. And it's filling in this area. Okay.
Okay, real quick.
Yes.
What's the main difference between the filbert and the Willow Splendor that you were using?
Well, a filbert would be softer.
Okay.
A regular filbert brush is not made of that stiff bristled fabric or material. So
right.
The shape is the same. Filbert shape is the same. It's rounded on the tip.
It's just
That's
softer.
what it means. But this is softer. This is cut, and it's also cut in pieces. So these are shorter down here, and so it's kind of flays out. So when you pounce with it, you'll kind of get some of these side pieces hitting, and this is pretty much cut straight.
Okay.
Across.
All right. And then when you're doing the trees, I'm sure you go over the secrets and the tips to doing trees and tree branches, because somebody asked about it.
Yes, I will.
No, okay.
Yes, I will. Thank you. I will be sure I do that.
No, thank you.
Okay. Take a drink real quick.
I'll say hi to everybody with my mic on this time.
Oh, good.
And if you're new to the channel, you can hit the subscribe and check out Angela's over 300 videos after this, from beginner, students, kids, all the way to advanced. Check it out.
Yeah.
There's a few flowers. Just give
Yeah, somebody posted a comment the other day. It's like, I hope you paint more flowers paintings. And I was like, obviously you haven't checked out my others. It was like, because there's 90% flowers on my channel.
It's like, I hope you use more acrylic paint.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next time, I hope you use brushes. Yep, that's gonna happen. There will be flowers. This is one of the first ones we've done that doesn't have flowers. If you missed it, we did a really fun one on Tuesday night.
Yeah,
it turned out really pretty. Got the sunlight kind of coming through.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
that was a fun one.
And those are Farmall flowers.
Be quiet. All right. I've got purple here, and I've got some burnt sienna and yellow. What color? Quinacridone Magenta. There. I'm gonna do these tree branches are pretty scraggly. I think that they're kind of having to hold on to the cliffside. They're probably getting blown around in the wind, so they're kind of mangled a little bit. Looking, getting some lighter color. I'm gonna highlight this side of it with my Unbleached Titanium. And just going to put in a few little branches here. There's not a whole lot of the branches showing on this one. And I am going to make the tree a little bit fuller than it is in our picture, because the top of the tree has kind of already lost its leaves, and I'm going to put the leaves back on just because I want to see them. So all right, doing that tree trunk there. And then these ones are a little bit lighter because they're catching more of the sunlight. They're right on that hillside, so I switched to number 4 round here. This is the VelvetTouch line, so it's kind of a softer brush. You want to make sure that you add water to your paint, otherwise it'll just kind of stick. This is a soft bristle brush, so if you don't add water when you paint with it, it will just kind of flop around. It won't paint well. Just stick to your brush. So just add a little bit extra water when you're using a liner brush or a round brush. It will help it work better. And doing these Y shapes. This is really the key with trees. You want to do 2 things. You want to kind of split your trees, and and Y shapes, and then you want to make sure that your trunk is thicker than your branches. So you don't want to have a branch going, you know, thin trunk and then a big thick branch and then a thin, you know, and then thick parts. Your tree trunk is going to be the thickest part, and it's going to narrow as you get to the end of your branch. It's going to be the, you know, it's going to be thick, and then as you get toward the end of your branch, it's going to get thinner and thinner and thinner. So like right here where I have like this thin line in between, I would go back in and make sure that it's gradually gets wider as it goes down toward the base. That will look more natural. There are also going to be tree branches that are coming straight at us. And in that case, we're actually going to see, it's going to look kind of like what my fingers look like right here. So you're going to see this kind of cluster of branches or leaves that kind of do these sort of horizontal rounded shapes, and those are the ones that are kind of coming straight at us. Because none of them, you know, no tree is kind of laying flat and spread out perfectly flat. So, okay, let me grab in a little bit more of my unbleached titanium here. I'm going to do my highlight on this. And I think I'm going to use a little bit of orange, actually. I've seen a little bit of orange. Go a little bit wider with these. Here again, making sure that these are staying pretty much vertical. Grabbing some of that yellow, I'm going to put it along this side of this tree. And on these. Okay. There are shadows on the grass. I'm going to go ahead and grab this purple color. I'm going to mix a little bit of blue with it. It's the same color as I used for my tree trunk. Just that unbleached titanium with the purple and a little bit of Quinacridone Magenta, a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm going to add a little bit of blue. And I'm going to use my glazing liquid here. And I'm going to create my shadows on my grass. And if it's too dark, just add a little bit more of your glazing liquid. So I'm going to grab a little bit more glazing liquid, just a little bit of that color. It's kind of a bluish purple color. There we go. And then as we get farther away, just get a little bit darker. I'm just going to use my finger to kind of tap it off. Blend it in a little bit right there. Okay. Let's do a little bit of shadow on this one. So what you can do is kind of, you know, your sunlight is going to be right above this one. So you can just kind of do a straight line from that. So this one is going to be this way.
That was a pretty cool trick right there.
Thanks. you do it.
It's like a painting hack.
Mm-hmm. There, there, and there. Good. Okay. And really there's a lot more of this dark color happening all the way down here. Okay. All right, let's put in our big mean trunk, tree trunk. I'm going to grab my angle brush here. And I'm going to use burnt sienna and a little bit of burnt umber for the base of it. And here I want my tree trunk to follow that slope. So I'm going to end it up here and I'm going to bring the bottom of it down here. So that the bottom of our tree, if you have a tree that's on, you know, straight ground, you would have that angle like that. But since this is angled out, okay. And I'm going to make it thicker on this side just to kind of there we go. What are you laughing at?
I just looked up out of the corner of my eye and you get that painting of that girl's face looking right at me. It's like, whoa. Oh, never mind.
Which one? Oh, over there. She's checking on you.
Yeah, your Patreon one.
Creepy.
Kind of creepy.
Creepy face.
Creepy
watching
painting
you.
face, yes. I mean, and you're sitting right there. And she's just staring at me like that.
Is she hitting on you?
I don't know. She's kind of giving me the eye there.
Well, I may have to move her if she doesn't behave. Okay. So these are our main things. Our branch coming off this way. And here again, making sure that it's wider where it touches the trunk. I'm kind of deliberately putting this on a little bit splotchy. Grab that unbleached titanium and some of that purple color that we're using on our shadow over here. I'm going to use that and tap it into my paint.
So now with the branches, did you explain how they go from bigger to smaller?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do a Y shape.
I wasn't listening.
I did a whole drawing right here about it.
You did?
Uh-huh.
Where was I?
I don't know. Don't know.
I must have blacked out.
I did. Alright, using Ultramarine Blue, some white here. And I've still got these browns on my brush, so it's mixing with them. And these colors are not completely dry yet, so I may have to let this set and just dry before I do much more of this. This whole area right here closest to the sun is pretty light, so just kind of tapping and dragging to get a little texture on that bark. And that's all I'm going to do for now. I'm going to go ahead and stipple in our tree. Let's do these ones back here first. So let's do this one. I'm going to get some a little bit of brown with my Cadmium Red Light. And I'm going to tap in. It's kind of vertical. Just a little bit. Then I'm going to grab my yellow, mix that with it. These are all starting to get sticky. Tap that in, and I have more color up at the top here. I'm just going to use the very tip of the brush to tap straight down, and I angling it down. And doing that side to side. Let's grab some of the brighter yellow. Do just a little bit of that. Ooh, it's really bright. Okay. That's good enough. Also, our tree, the bottom of our tree is kind of flat too, so it's not angled. These ones up here are kind of pretty much the same way. They're going to be sort of side to side. I'm going to grab a little bit of brown with this yellow and tap in around the sides of my trees here. Not worried about my white. We're going to put the sun in later. Just looking at my tree shapes here. Trying to get those right. Grabbing some of that yellow. And it's not pure yellow because it's got other colors in here, so, but I'm going to tap that in. By turning my brush kind of facing down, just using that tip, I can get a little bit more control. I could also switch to a smaller brush if I want to, if I need to. If you can't get the control you're looking for, you can switch to a smaller brush like the Willow's blender. Okay, those are good. Add a little bit of this burnt sienna color back here. Okay. And I'm going to use a little bit smaller brush. I'm going to grab my 1/4 inch brush here and use a little bit of that with white and yellow. I'm going to tap in some really bright highlights kind of at the bottom of our tree. This is cadmium yellow, medium, and white. Okay, and so I'm going to go and grab the white and tab it in right here where I want that bright sun to be. Just start tapping it in a circle. And then we'll come back in and add more sun to that later, but we're wanting it above our hillside. So just above it, doing that little circle there of white. And we will add more to it in a minute. But we need to make sure our trees are dry first. All right. So I'm going to grab some purple and some brown. Burnt umber here, and I'm going to go under our tree branches. I'll wipe most of that off. Go under here, and I'm going to stipple in right where our tree branches are kind of hitting the ground there. We need to darken up that area. Because right now it looks like they're kind of just sitting on top of nothing. So make sure that it's nice and dark. Kind of floating. We don't want floating trees. That would not be good. Well, I don't know.
Something ain't
be
right
a
here.
Fantasy.
Exactly.
You never know. I do read a lot of fantasy books, so there's no telling.
Throwing a few zombies or something. Coming up over the hill.
A couple of vampires.
Yeah. Whatever.
Werewolves. Who knows? Fairies.
Sasquatch. Chupacabra.
Chupa.
Chupa?
Chuka.
Have you ever seen one?
I'm just saying that's what they're called, not chuka. Going in with purple here.
How something made up can be spelt or said wrong. I don't know. But
I didn't make it up. You got to follow the rules of whoever made up the word. I mean, if you're going to make up your own words, go by all means, but don't try to change the word that's already been made up. Okay, tapping in some of this purpley color here. And I did the tree root kind of rounded right there. That helps kind of set it in, make it look more realistic. There. And then let's add some of this highlight color to some of our rocks. This is that bright. It's going to add blue to it. I want it to be blue. Same color that we did over here. Ultramarine blue and white. There we go. Do some little rocks in here. We'll probably tone these down. They might be a little bit too bright. A little bit more blue. There we go. All these little rocks in here. As we get closer, they're going to be bigger. We want to get our rocks in first before we put in our rest of our grass. So we want anything that's going to be kind of, in our underneath in right now. So we worked from far to near, and we work from underneath to on top, so rocks underneath, ground underneath, and the grass will go on top. That'll be one of the last things we put in. I'm going to grab some of the blue and mix a little bit of the burnt umber with it and do some darker shadows over here. Add some back in over here. There's some darker, kind of didn't go dark enough back all the way over here. Kind of in our shadow area of our tree there. Just okay, there we go. Ooh, I like it. It's cool.
I'm going to zoom in on the big tree. Somebody asked for a zoom. Just got to give the people what they want.
Hey, that's fine. I'm gonna grab some yellow or some orange and use some white here. I could use this brush, and I'm gonna tap in some bright orange texture right there in the middle. And I see some green yellow too. Let's use some of this green and some yellow. Put some of that in right in here. Yeah, right here. Let's see it. Stop making fun of me. It's a moss.
I love you. That's awesome. Oh, wow, I see it.
Well, it's funny, you kind of sit with a painting for a while and you don't realize that there's colors there, and then all of a sudden they kind of appear. It's sort of like magic. You realize, oh, there's some yellow in there. There's some green too. I don't know. I get excited about weird things. Sorry. At least there's some people that get it. Okay, loving it. Let's do some teal. I'm seeing some teal also in these shadows. I'm going to mix some teal with my phthalo blue, phthalo green. Let's put a little bit of burnt sienna in there. Just a tiny bit. Let's use some of that in here. I think I want a bigger brush. Let's get the Deerfoot Stippler out. No, let's get the fan brush out.
I was going to say, if they're new to painting, no deer were hurt in the making of that brush.
As opposed to the hog bristles.
Yeah, I think that's when you pluck their eyebrows. You get those hog bristles.
Really?
I think that's where they come from.
Okay. I'll believe you. All right. Green, phthalo blue, burnt sienna. Burnt sienna just tones it down, makes it a little bit less like neon turquoise. More of a natural color, green color. There we go. Put a little bit of this in here. I'm just setting my brush down and kind of flicking it upward. There's not a ton of this color, so I'm not going to go too much. I do want it in some of my shadow areas here. Okay. Some of the Unbleached Titanium, mix that with some of our green I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow green to this. Add some water. And we'll add some, there we go, set the brush down. Just make sure you've got just enough water in there. You don't want your brush too overloaded with paint. Just going to set my brush down and do some little flicks with my fan brush. And I'm really kind of tapping almost too. If I kind of angle it down like this and tap, it will create sort of these grass shapes without me having to actually even pull. But I'm going to right, and then if you get too much on, or like you do it and you don't really like it, what you can do is kind of wipe it off when it first happens. Like if you catch it right away, you can take your paper towel and just kind of dab it off. But with this kind of thing, you can always kind of go back over with the dark and light, back and forth until you kind of get it to where you like it. So you don't have to have it perfect the first time. I'm going to grab some of this yellow green here, add a little bit of the white and yellow, cadmium yellow to it so that it's kind of this bright yellow green. Yeah, there's an area right in here that's really bright. It's catching a lot of sunlight popping through the trees right there. And there's a couple more little tufts of it down here. It's pretty, pretty, pretty. It's all about this contrast between the dark and the light. If you don't have that dark down there, when you do this, it won't be as obvious that it's light hitting these. You know, if we had it all too dark or too light, you know, it wouldn't have this pop of bright color that we're getting right now. Wouldn't be nearly as effective. I love it. Isn't that pretty? All right, let's grab some white. So go a little bit brighter even. Do some of the brighter white up here. On our brightest part of our hill. I think I see some dark areas that I've kind of missed, so I'll grab some of that brownish color and just tap in a little bit of the darker color back into my hillside up here. There's just some little dark areas that are back in here that we're missing. There we go. Right, pretty good. Let's add a little bit of this Cadmium Red Light. I'm going to mix it with the green. There's just a few little areas of really bright orangey color in here. I'm going to add a little bit of Quinacridone Magenta too. I want it almost red. Just very few. There's definitely some little spots of this bright red in here. Maybe they're leaves. I don't know what it is, but that looks really pretty. Boy, that adds a lot. Just that little pop of red down there. Okay, so let's use this up in our tree now. I'm gonna use this Quinacridone Cadmium, or Quinacridone and Cadmium Red Light, some burnt sienna. And I'm gonna use my big sponge. So I'm gonna get a little bit of water on it and squeeze it out till there's really nothing left on it. And I'm going to tap in and around our tree here. Pretty. All right, let's grab some of the brighter Cadmium Red Light. Add a little bit of the green to it just to kind of tone it down just slightly. I'm just tapping in whatever I've got on my palette right there. I'm squeezing my brush here, or my sponge, so I'm getting a small area here to work with. I'm going to build these up slowly. I'm going to grab some of that burnt sienna. Some of that up in here. All right, now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush because I want to have a little bit more control. Let me use this large Deerfoot. This is the 5/8 inch Deerfoot. I'm going to grab the orange and the Cadmium Red Light. Cadmium Orange, Cadmium Red Light. I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit, just a tiny bit of this phthalo green. And then I need some of this yellow in here. Grab the cadmium yellow. It's blending with all these colors, so it's not just straight cadmium yellow at this point. Got all kinds of other colors in here. We're going to put some branches in here, but I wanted to do this first, and then we'll put in some branches, and then we'll do some more of this. So I'm almost ready to put in some of my other branches. Just wanted to get some of this color down first. And I'm kind of going on the underside of this tree. You know, usually I would kind of do the highlights on the top of the tree, but since the sun is so low, the highlights are kind of hitting it low on this tree. So they're sort of on the underside of these. There's like darker parts on top. Okay. I'm liking it. Looking good. Okay, let's put in some of our branches in. So I'm going to grab that burnt umber. Use it to just kind of go back over the top of some of these. Maybe a little bit of purple. Make it dark enough to see. Making sure that this is wider as it goes down and attaches to the branch. There.
So you're going to explain how to do branches again?
Weisenheimer.
Can I get you some espresso or anything?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I have yours?
My what?
Espresso.
I don't have any espresso.
Oh.
You have the espresso that I didn't want? Yes.
Okay.
Can.
Thank you. I'll go make it.
Okay. Okay. Goofball. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's see. What I'm doing is kind of going in between here. I'm not going over every section. I just want to add a little bit of branches peeking through here and there so that makes sense. Continuing that branch that we kind of didn't finish there. There we go. All right, now we can continue with this. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of this yellow oxide, mix it with my cadmium yellow, add a little tiny bit of white. And tap in some of that. Now I can kind of go over the top of some of those branches to kind of set them in if I need to. I did most of my foliage before I do this because I don't want to cover back over everything. So do most of your foliage, then paint back some of your branches, and then just finish up with just a little bit of highlights here. I think I want to add some more of this bright orange. So a little bit of the Cadmium Red Light and Quinacridone. Go really bright here. And this one I want to use kind of sparingly because it is so bright. I don't want to overpower everything. How's my coffee?
It smells great.
Good. I'm not a coffee drinker. Mark is. That's why he's teasing me with it. I don't like the smell of it either, so he's just FYI. This is what we're doing here.
So if you send coffee, it's all going to be consumed by me.
Yeah, send it to Mark. He'll be very happy with it. You can send me tea. I'm the tea drinker.
Yes.
All right, yellow cadmium yellow light. What, or cadmium yellow?
I don't know. I went out there to start up the machine, and Oliver's sitting, staring in the back window, all fluffed out, not happy.
Our cat.
It's like it's stinking cold out here.
Yeah, it's like,
Let me in.
I'm done pretending I can handle being out here. All right. Oh, that's looking really pretty. I think that's pretty good. So really the only thing we've got left to do a little bit more grasses and do the sunlight coming through our trees. There, we'll be done. So let me grab some unbleached titanium here. A little bit of my yellow. Actually, let me do white. It's my yellow. More of this white. Or cadmium yellow, I mean. And I need white too. Both.
It's like, wow. Am I seeing things? Because that does not look white.
No. I want to add some of the cadmium yellow white here.
So while you're just painting there, I'll remind everybody who's new to the channel that it's coming up for Christmas season.
I know.
And people are trying to think of what they can ask for Christmas.
Yes.
They could ask for paintbrushes.
Yeah.
And direct their loved ones to the link down below the video for the brush guys.
Yes.
And all the brushes that you recommend are listed in that link, and you get 5% off with the code AngelaFineArt.
Yes, at brushguys.com.
Brushguys.com, and then also down below the video, you hit the show more, you can see that list of all the supplies Angela's using, the paints, links to the Amazon store for her.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the Amazon store is if if you just want to kind of check out what I've got on my list, from my links, then if you go on and buy anything else from Amazon, even if you don't buy the stuff from my links, I get a small percentage of it. So it kind of helps out our channel. So if you want to just kind of passively support the channel, that's a way to do it.
No extra cost to you. So when you're Black Friday shopping or Cyber Monday,
yep,
come to the video, click the Amazon store link, and then go there, and
helps us out.
It'll support the channel.
Bunch. It really helps us.
Yeah.
All right. I'm making some more of that bright yellow green color. Add that to my grasses here. There we go. Just a little bit brighter greens. Okay. And I'm going to put a little bit of this green up in our tree too, even though it's orange. There is, not all the trees, the leaves turn at the same rate, so there is going to be just a tiny bit of green popping in there, here and there, so that'll kind of help it look a little bit more natural. Do the same thing down here. All right, and then use that bright yellow, cadmium yellow light, or cadmium yellow medium, I mean. And I'm going to tap in just a few little areas of the really bright yellow. And I'm just using the kind of the corner of my fan brush here. Okay. All right, let me see what I've got here that's clean. Not much.
I took a shower.
Well, I'm going to grab this brush. This is another one of the 3/8" Deerfoot stipplers, and it's dry. So I'm going to grab some of the Zinc White. Pick that up on the Deerfoot stippler.
So you're keeping the brush dry?
Dry,
okay.
Yeah, it's really important. And then I want to take most of the color out, and I'm going to tap in right here, and I'm just going to go in a circle with the Zinc White. The Zinc White is transparent. If you don't have it, just use white. Just use white. Just make sure that you really tap off most of the color, because it will, if you use regular white, it will definitely cover everything up. So I'm just going round and round here. There we go. And then I can grab a little bit of the white, regular white, tap most of it off. I'm going to tap it right in the middle there, and I'm just going to kind of drag it out from the center. Really bright white there. go. All right. Now, don't scrub too much in the center there. What can happen is you can end up with a halo, and I talked about that in the video that we did, this video right here. I kind of showed how to avoid getting little halos when you do these kind of scrubby dry brush techniques. So, you know, if you have that problem, basically you just want to make sure that you don't scrub in the same area too long. What happens was, you know, it just picks up everything, and it lifts all the color off of the entire painting. If you scrub too much in one spot. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow around the outside, just a little bit. There we go. All right, I'm gonna zoom out there, honey. I think we're done. It's 2 hours. About right. Super chats. I'm gonna sign it.
Yes, man, you caught me off guard there. Just finishing up. So we had many awesome chats. 3 super chats.
Nice.
The first one is from Robin, and she says, "Thank you for all your awesomeness."
Oh.
So thank you, Robin. And of course, we had the one from Sandy, and again, she said, "Making up for lost time, miss you." And thank you, Sandy. She's already gone, but again, thank you. And then we had one from Janice, and she says, "Love this painting." So that's great.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you so much for your support and your love.
Janice. Thank you to everybody that stopped by and watched with us today. Appreciate you guys. Kind of makes it more fun for us, obviously, to have you watching with us and chatting and interacting. Wouldn't be the same without you, so we appreciate you that take the time to stop and hang out with us on Saturdays and Tuesdays. I'm just going back in with my dark purple here and just adding some shadows back in here.
Oh, I got you covered up with Patreon.
Okay.
For the $1
Take it
levels,
off.
I will remove that.
Thank you.
So for patreon.com, it's a way to, again, support Angela's channel. And for $1 a month, you get traceables, all of the traceables, as many downloads as you want, going back to the painting she's done since February of 2017. So that's probably,
over 100.
Yeah, over 100 there. And then there's a $5 level, which gets you the traceables plus access to a monthly bonus video. And earlier in this video, she showed you the bear that she did last month.
Yes.
So you have access to all those paintings.
And we'll be doing another landscape, a winter landscape, for this month's bonus video.
Nice. And then the $10 level is all that plus access to a Facebook group that's closed, and you get more painting lessons and get to participate in voting on what Angela will be painting and so forth.
Yes.
So it's awesome. And then down below we send the links to the Brush Guys, Amazon store, all the social media, Facebook. She has just an open Facebook group too. That is monitored, so that there's no
mean comments.
No mean comments.
Mean people get booted.
And it's all just about painting.
Yep.
And then there's Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest.
I'm not sure if I'm liking that. I'm gonna stop doing that right there. I was just adding a little shadows to my trees there, but I don't think I like it. All right, I'll leave that. All right, guys, I'm going to stop fiddling with this. Hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. Thanks for watching.
So what are we painting Tuesday?
Tuesday, we are, I don't remember. What are we painting?
Have we switched over to Christmas yet? No?
No,
Hold on. Let me open up YouTube here.
I cannot remember. Oh, the bridge. We're doing a bridge.
Ah.
Yeah. So that should be fun.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you can go and check out all Angela's got posted many of the upcoming videos for the next month
Yes.
or so. So,
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you Tuesday night. Bye.